Hey everyone, and welcome to another one of our videos. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a dash cam in a W221 Mercedes S-Class. You can see I have a significant portion of the center console removed here, the cup holders and the ashtray, all one section in the later model 221s. This is where I'm going to wire the dash cam in. So I'm a little bit ahead of myself in the video. To pull out the cup holders, it's a really simple process. You just have a screw there and a screw there that are hidden under rubber plugs whenever you flip open the cup holder lid. Torx T20s, at least on the facelift model S-Classes that have the full wood console. And then once you get those guys off, you kind of have to, with the cup holder shut, lever the whole cup holder ashtray assembly out, and underneath there's a plug. It is for the cigarette lighter, and this is also where we're going to be tapping power off of. So this plug, it's kind of hard to see on video, 3-prong, and it plugs into the cigarette lighter from the side. Whenever you pull yours off and it's assembled, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. You're probably not going to be able to see what I'm talking about on video because I can't really get a camera in there to shoot it because this wire is so short. So I don't have a whole lot of length to lift the thing out of the way and show you while it's attached. So that's the point that I'm at. I also checked to figure out where switched power is, which is where I want to wire the dash cam into. And that is going to be on the facelift cars, what appears to be black wire with white stripe right here. So on the right hand side of the connector where we're looking, it's the wire right over here. So we're going to use a splice connection, basically, T-tap on that wire. We're going to wire in a little power supply, USB power supply for a dash cam. And my plan is to run the wire underneath the passenger side of the dashboard where the access panel for the cabin filter and stuff is. I'm actually doing the cabin filter change at the same time as this video. So I'm going to go ahead, pull some stuff apart underneath there, figure out my wire routing path, and show you what I figure out. Alright, I'm here under the passenger side of the dashboard, and I have the panel right here a little bit loose. I apologize for how dark it is. But right there, on the left-hand side, you have one screw that holds that panel on. I have it just hanging out there, just barely threaded in place. You can see the light right there that lights up the footwell, and then the other screw is right here on the right-hand side. Once you get those two screws out, you should just be able to pull this panel down pretty easily. It has a couple clips and snaps and things, but using some pressure, you should be able to pull it down. So once I have mine down and a little bit out of the way, I'll show you where you're going next. Alrighty, so before we get any further on the install, I just want to show you some of the supplies that I'm going to be using. These are the main basic things that I have. So we're going to be using a USB extension cable, micro USB extension cable. This guy I use to run from the actual dash cam itself down to a convenient spot, normally underneath the dash or in the fuse box, something like that, or I can connect to the power supply. The reason I separate that from the actual power supply, because the power supply does have a really long cable, is two reasons. Number one, the lead from the supply to the actual USB portion of the cable is really short. You can see it's not very long, it's about a foot. So I don't want this up near the windshield. And second reason is because these power supplies have had fail a few times. So nothing too crazy, they're the most reliable ones I found. I'll link to these as well as this extension cable on Amazon in the description below. But these are what I'm going to be using, and that's the reasoning behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and take you into the car and show you what's going on in there, and we will move on with the rest of the installation. Before I tuck this under the dash, I just want to show you how this is sitting underneath the dash. We have the power supply bundled up in here along with the connection point where the USB extension cable over here connects to the power supply, which is going to run to the car over here. So that's this. The reason I have it bundled up in felt is to keep any kind of rattles or vibration down. So that's why that is done that way. As far as the running of the cable goes, this I'll show you in a little bit once I figure out the routing, but the extension cable ends up down here in the under panel that you take off to replace the cabin filter. It's the under dash access panel. Ends up in there. Reason being, again, if the power supply fails, it will be relatively easy to change out. So you can see it's coming out of there right now. Comes into there through the side panel right here, and then comes down around and up the A-pillar. I pulled the fuse panel cover off over here on the side of the dash to get the wire tucked in there as well as to run it down into there. Comes up the A-pillar tucked behind the weather stripping, and then right here goes in that crack in between the airbag and the headliner, and it just runs tucked up in the headliner across the top to the camera, which is currently hanging by the cord. That's actually how well it tucks up into the headliner. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the wire routing here, getting the wire run. I believe what I'm going to end up doing is running it kind of over, along underneath the carpet and between the carpet and the dash, and then up along here into where I'm pulling my power from. I tested everything temporarily. Everything works. It hooks up fine. So we're going to see what we can get going on here in just a second. Alrighty, so we have the wiring complete. Everything functions now as it should. Just need to put everything back together. So to run you through what I did, like I'd mentioned before, the wire is coming in from underneath the glove box. I did run it along the dash right here. And then right between the wood and the carpet, if I shine a light from inside, you can see where the light comes through. And that's where I came through and came into the center console area. From there, I have the wire coming underneath this bar. Be careful to come underneath that. If you come over it, I believe that the ashtray door that slides back into the dash will interfere with it. Come underneath that with the factory wiring. Tied down the wire in a couple places. Made sure to pat it with some felt where it passes under this so it won't rattle. And then came up, used a T-tap to tap into the positive 12-volt feed to the cigarette lighter. And then grounded right here where a factory ground is. Make sure to tighten that back down. This thing's all set and ready to go. And at this point, all I have to do is put the car back together. I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you what the camera looks like. Stuck to the windshield, final install completed, everything ready to go. Alrighty, we now have the car off, dash cam off. The gauge cluster does still show as on because the driver's door is open. That's normal for this particular car. Everything's put back together down here. Everything works as it should. Cup holder is open. Ashtray, if I can get a grip on it, opens and shuts as normal. Everything works perfectly down here. The wiring, I had to mess with a little bit from the previous setup. The only thing I had to change was where the T-tap or quick connect, whatever you want to call it, was attached. I actually cut back the tape that wraps the factory wiring harness a little bit and moved it down some. Reason being, whenever I tried to put the cup holders and everything back in with it where it was, where I showed in the previous clip, the wire could not bend enough. It bends at a pretty harsh angle. Couldn't bend enough to let everything set down into place. So had to fix that. That took care of that problem. Everything works smoothly now. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead, push the start button, not starting the car, just turning the ignition on. And the dash cam will come on, place a little chime. It hasn't had enough time to charge the battery up yet. That's okay. Everything works as expected. So, relatively easy install, although it took a little bit of time to troubleshoot the issues down here in terms of moving the quick connect down and everything along those lines. Really, it wasn't too bad. About par for the course for wiring up a dash cam in pretty much any vehicle. It takes a little while, especially if you want to do it really, really right, but I think it's worth the end result to have the protection of the camera and to have no rattles down here, no rattles under there, everything be nice and happy. So with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.